What actually is the Rockefeller blueprint?
The Rockefeller blueprint is pretty much you have to start with a structure. So we know of John Rockefeller. More families know of the Rockefeller family and John Rockefeller than they know of their great-great-grandparents. And that is because John Rockefeller built the structure of the Rockefeller family. That's why we know the Rockefeller name. So we don't know a lot about, how he obtained his wealth, but his family does. And they will always know because he built the structure. And so if John Rockefeller didn't have a trust, then second generation, third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation wealth, they could have just blew it off, but because he had that structure, every generation coming after him will know who John Rockefeller was. So I want our families to be the John Rockefellers. I want our families to be able to say, you know what, we're leaving this, we're leaving this, we're leaving that. And that's proper generational wealth versus us saying, we got a Louis Vuitton a purse, or we got a Mercedes Benz in the driveway, or we live in a house that's really, owned by the bank. Like, I want us to be able to leave an inheritance for our children's children. That's what the good book says.
So when we're talking about a structure, let's say you got two families, right? Let's say one family's leaving, let's say 10 million, and the other family has that 10 million structured, right? What's the difference between one family that has it structured out, maybe the Rockefeller structure with that seed money, right? And then the other family with no structure, but just has the 10 million, let's just say in a bank or a couple of accounts. What's the difference there?
Well, statistics say that black wealth doesn't make it past the second generation. So if it doesn't make it past the second generation, then that's not proper generational wealth.
So that means they got to start over again.
Yeah. So structure means that I'm able to say, or just say you're able to say, if my child gets married, I want to make sure that my child has $10,000 towards their wedding. But they can't just take the whole family inheritance and go have a great wedding. Or you're able to say, hey, I don't ever want the land in our family ever sold. Or the family house, we want to keep the family house. So if somebody needs to rent it out or Airbnb it or keep it somehow, but it never can be sold. If a person doesn't have a structure, which is a contract, a trust is a contract. So if I create the John Rockefeller contract, that means that no one coming after me can ever change it. So literally from the grave, you're still controlling your family. The family without a structure, then cousin Bobo can come in 2 generations and decide that he wants to invest it in and go to Vegas and spend it all and literally lose it. And then that's your whole generational wealth that you thought you were building, but you didn't have a structure. Most people think, oh, I have a life insurance policy. A life insurance policy is not generations of wealth because you're not controlling anything. So I don't know if you watch Power, but Tariq had to go to school in order for him to receive the inheritance that Ghost left him, right? He couldn't receive it if he didn't go to school because he's a trust fund baby. So that's because Ghost left the structure for him to abide by. Then we have people like, Aretha Franklin or Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or Prince or Bob Marley or, all of those people take off like that didn't have those structures. So now it has to go to probate. And then now probate has to determine what's going to happen to that. That means you didn't have a structure. Well, Nipsey Hussle had a structure. So now Puma's paying into Nipsey Hussle's trust fund every single year to his children. So Nipsey Hussle is the John Rockefeller, his family. And 5, 6, 7, 8 generations, his family still gonna know who he is because my billionaire mentor, he said, if you want them to know who you are in 7 generations, you got to leave them something. If you don't leave them nothing, then they're not even going to know who you are. And I don't want to be one of those people that Les Brown talked about when he talked about in the graveyard. There's dreams that were not manifested. There's cures that were not produced. There's all different types of things that didn't happen. I don't want to be one of those persons that just came to this earth just to wear Balenciaga and wear Louis Vuitton and live in a nice house and drive a nice car, and in 7 generations, nobody even knew that I existed.
Yeah, so that was me for sure. Cause like my grandmom, so with my grandmother and my uncle, my great uncle, and maybe my great grandma anyway, but they was in Jersey, when they moved from Jersey to Boston, my grandmother, she was the majority owner. Like they bought a 3-family house, so there was no structure. And you know a little bit of my story, but by the time I'm 16, grandmother passed. Grandmother passed, mom's died, dad's died. I'm in my 20s, and then my aunt, uncle, great grandmother passed away. So I get the house, and my grandmother left me about $1.50 through life insurance. I didn't have the structure. I didn't mentorship. I didn't have any older. No one had the financial literacy. So to your point, the generational wealth that would have passed on from that generation is lost. It's lost. It's gone. So it's like part of my story now is rebuilding that, because I was at a younger age, so I was able to see myself mismanage it. Lose it, like be irresponsible. And then now as a mature man, now I'm building loss, because now I have the self-awareness, right? But to your point, that's exactly where it is. Because to me, it's like a lot of families, families of color, they may not even have the information, or they're separated from the information.
Well, I think we're just now getting into a generation where people won't even talk about death or want to talk about organization.
You think that's still the case?
I think we're getting closer to,
you think we're getting closer to having a conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.